Welcome to At Home with Gizzelle. I'm Gizzelle. I'm sure like me, many of you are working from home with kids. As part of the Equinix partnership with the Mom Project, an event was hosted for our working parents to provide support and share experiences as a group. It was amazing to have the reminder that we aren't in this alone, and I'm not the only person taking Lego breaks during the workday. Do you find yourself waving at the end of video calls to say goodbye? According to CNN, it's due to the majority of us missing the personal interaction and visual cues of meetings ending. In person, there are social cues such as closing a notebook, checking your watch, putting things in a bag, or getting ready to stand up that show an interaction is winding down. But those same signals don't translate on video calls, so experts are saying people are trying new behaviors like waving, so we don't feel so bad abruptly clicking leave on our Zoom calls. Like most of you, I've been trying to find new shows on Netflix to keep me entertained during my time at home. This week I've started watching Space Force, about getting boots on the moon by 2024. While watching the first episode, I came across an article in Digital Trends interviewing a NASA astronaut stating that we can absolutely get to the moon by 2024. I'd like to think that the TV show and NASA talking about the same goal on the same day was a coincidence, but maybe it's part of a bigger plan. After his guest cameo on last week's video and his featured presentation at ExploitCon this week, a few of you reached out wanting to know more about my husband and his background. Well, I'm pleased to say that this week we are going to interview Mr. At Home with Gizzelle himself, Jeff Akin. Thank you so much for joining us today. I don't even know where to start with telling the world about you. From your TV time in professional wrestling, to your Starfleet Leadership Academy podcast, to your work advocating for people facing disabilities, to your time as a studio musician signed to a record label. There is so much we could talk about in only a few minutes today. So why don't you guide us? Who is Jeff Akin?
So who is Jeff Akin? That's the question, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. Been there, done that. I've got a huge collection of t-shirts. But when I describe myself, I use a couple terms. Transformational leader is the biggest one. Actor, voiceover artist, musician, podcast host. You said it all. But all of them, I think, are great ways to describe me. Jeff Akin is someone who seeks to unleash the potential in everyone around him.
One of the topics I'd like to dive a little deeper into is your passion and work around employment enablement for people with disabilities. Tell us some of the things that you've done specifically in your office.
I kind of fell into it. I began managing an organization that had a couple employees that had intellectual developmental disabilities, and immediately saw opportunities to improve our workplace with them. We worked to integrate them into our regular workforce and to, like I said earlier, unleash that potential that was inside of them. Since then, I've worked with incredible partners. In the state of Oregon, we have what's called the Employment First program. Any employer can tap into this, and this is from the Oregon Department of Human Services. They help connect employers to resources to give these opportunities to people experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities.
I know this week you presented at ExploitCon, one of the leading cybersecurity conferences in the Pacific Northwest, and got a big pop by wearing a sequin jacket. Apparently not a lot of IT presenters wear sequins regularly. But you spoke about leadership lessons from managing a remote workforce and how those same principles apply both to on-premise and remote workers. Give us some highlights from that presentation.
Years ago, I developed a real structure, a real guide for leadership. It's what guides my personal leadership. It's how I try to guide those that work with me. And I call it aptitude. And it's 4 simple guidelines to leading. If you're always doing these 4 things, whether you have people on site, remote, whatever, things are going to turn out great. Add value in every interaction. Put the mission ahead of yourself. The best you have to offer is your authentic self, and allow others to thrive. It sounds so simple, but those 4 things can really unlock what people have inside just waiting to get out.
One of the reasons you get invited to speak at so many events, even outside your own industry, is the entertainment value of your education. And you use a lot of examples from your professional wrestling days. Wrestling to leadership, what was the logical progression there?
You're right, and every time I mention that I worked in pro wrestling, I have to explain that it's not that octagon stuff, that boring roll around the mat stuff, like it's the super exciting off the top rope stuff. But professional wrestling is really, it's storytelling. And that's how people learn. So I've woven leadership development into the skills I've learned through entertainment and professional wrestling. Vince McMahon talks about sports entertainment. So I talk about education entertainment or leadership entertainment.
On the topic of leadership entertainment and your mission to make everyone the best leader they can be, you recently launched a podcast, Starfleet Leadership Academy. Give us a summary of what it is about and where can we find it?
Yeah, so I'm in my dude from my mid-30s to mid-40s demographic, so of course I have a podcast. Why wouldn't I? Everybody does. It's called the Starfleet Leadership Academy. It's a Star Trek podcast told through the lens of leadership development. I found that there's really no better source for great leadership lessons than Star Trek. So each episode, I watch some Star Trek, talk about what I saw, and pull out all the leadership lessons and share those with the people who check us out. Starfleet Leadership Academy on the social media, hashtag SFLA for Starfleet Leadership Academy.
And because you're probably the best suited person to answer this question, what is something that the viewers should know about me?
Gizzelle, you have a passion for people. You have a passion for utilizing technology and tools to connect people to things that make them greater. I think that your stunning personality, your ability to communicate really complex concepts in a simple way are really just a mechanism to empower people to do more with what they have.
Thanks so much for that and for joining us today. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, Gizzelle. Thank you so much. Hey, stay positive and test negative. So how do you think it went?
Oh, that was soon.
Yeah. Hey, that's it for today's At Home with Gizzelle. Like the video, subscribe to the channel,
And we'll
see you next time.